Hi, everybody. This is William Cunningham of myhopeinmarriage.com. You can visit us online at www.myhopeinmarriage.com. All right. Well, My Hope in Marriage endeavors to provide resources to help you uh, forge a happy and fulfilling marriage. It's just that simple. I want you to have a happy marriage. Um, and I provide resources such as articles and videos to provide you with information that you can use to work on your own marriage. All right? That's what it's about. And it's from a man's perspective. So I talk more about the man's relationship to his wife, even though you should be aware that it goes both ways. All right? It goes both ways. In most cases, it goes both ways. All right? Okay. Now, today I want to talk about something that I think is very important because I believe that a lot of people do not put enough effort into determining if they want to marry this person, that particular person or not. They don't do the quote research, the due diligence to really make an informed decision. Do I want to marry her? Is she the one or is he the one? Now, in our society, in our traditional society, it is the man who makes the proposal. He proposes to the woman for marriage, and she either accepts or rejects. And personally, I don't see where it can't be the other way around. Why can't the woman say, I'd like to share my life with you for the rest of my life? Would you marry me? All right. There's nothing wrong with that. But traditionally, it's the guy who does it. So, men, before you make that proposal, you should make sure that you're certain you want to do it, not just because you're in love and you've been dating for 3 weeks and this is the one. I had a dream, or whatever, or there was an omen. You want to make an informed decision that you want to marry this person. And ladies, you want to make an informed decision before you accept or propose yourself, which means you probably want to be thinking about it before. If he proposes, if you're going to stay traditional, if he proposes, I'll say yes. I think he's the one. So you want to think about stuff. So during your dating, you're going to be, getting to know each other. At least you should be getting to know each other. All right. Do you want to make that commitment? Now, unfortunately, a lot of marriages end in divorce, or you have marriages that they don't get divorced, but they're just unhappy, um, stressful relationship, and so forth and so on. Whereas there were signs that indicated, for example, there were signs that indicated that she was exactly how she is. All right. There were signs that you probably ignored, weren't paying attention because you were so infatuated by, I don't know, her good looks, her body, her, I don't know, sense of humor, whatever. And you just overlooked those signs and decided to propose because you were in love. And I'll say it again, and I've said it many times before, love is not a good reason to get married. It is a very poor reason to decide to marry someone because you love them. Because after you get married, even before, love goes up and down. It's an emotion, romantic love, right? So, what are some of the signs or some things that you should be aware of to make a decision to marry someone? Number one, realize in some situations that the person you date may be a different version of the actual, true, genuine person. Let me give you an example. This is from something that I realized. I met my wife in college, and we quote dated for like 5 years, I think. And when we got married, I realized she was different. She was different. And of course, you're going to find out things about your spouse that you didn't see before because you weren't home with them all the time. The way she brushes her teeth or how she puts on her clothes, whatever. That's always going to be, unless perhaps you live together first. But anyway, and I remember telling her, I said, you're a different person. But then I later realized she wasn't really a different person. I just got to know the student version of her, which was different than the non-student. You see? So I didn't really interpolate certain things or apply certain things that I saw to a non-student version of herself. Now that could be anything. It could be, you're in a particular environment with this person and you get to know that particular person. Maybe most of your interactions with this person is in a religious environment. So you're used to that. Now, of course, if you marry the person at your home, you're going to be in a, not necessarily, I shouldn't say a non-religious environment, but you're not going to be in church all the time. All right. So you should be aware of that. And you need to go below the layer, below the surface to see the real person that's being even though he or she is being manifested to fit in a particular environment. All right? Okay. So keep that in mind. Now, don't ignore the characteristics and habits while you're dating. You're going to notice stuff, but you're just so in love that you just overlook it. And sometimes you may even think it was cute. Don't ignore those things. And I'm not talking about petty things, like maybe she laughs a funny way or and then let's say you marry the person and that laugh is annoying now. I'm not talking about stuff like that. I'm talking about, you're dating her, but you didn't realize she was, into witchcraft. Seriously, I mean, you need to get to know certain things. There may be certain things she says, certain books you see that she has, or certain places she wants to go, and you may ignore that. Oh yeah, she's spiritual. All right. So pay attention to those things. All right. Weigh them. Pay attention to them and weigh them in your decision to propose, if you do. Another thing that's important is ask yourself, from a man's perspective, the woman is going to do the same thing. What does she bring to the table for a marriage relationship? In other words, how is she going to contribute to me? That's what the guy's going to say. And she may say the same thing, because remember, the Bible says that God created the woman to be a helper, a companion to the man. How is she going to be your companion? Is she just a pretty face and a good body? Is she just eye candy? All right. Or a trophy? Is she going to just be a trophy wife? Or like a little jewelry hanging on your arm when you're out in public? Because that can get old quick. Because she can end up being a burden to you. Especially if she lets herself go, so to speak. But you got to ask yourself, what about her makes me want to marry her? What about her? What can she contribute to the relationship? What she contribute to me? Because I have certain destinations, like goals, dreams, and so forth that I want to accomplish. And I don't want the fact that I'm married to be a reason to abandon those goals and dreams. How can she work and help me? What does she bring to the table? I mean, it could be she's good at organization. She's a great cook. She's very helpful. Whatever. But you have to ask her. That's the question you have to ask, and the answers is going to be based on what you want from a wife, guys, and women what you want from a husband. All right. So um, know what the person that you're considering to marry is going to bring to the table. And it's not just love. Do not, I can't say this enough, do not depend on romantic love to be a reason or a glue for a happy marriage. Do not allow love to be a reason to marry someone. You will have made a big, big mistake. Young guys, if you're out there and you fell in love with this girl, that's not a reason to get married. Okay? All right. Ulterior motives. You're married to someone, guy's married to a girl, a woman, and he finds that she doesn't seem to be into him. She doesn't really interact with him. She's not, like she was when she was dating. You know, she doesn't seem to want to spend time with him. She would rather watch TV. She would rather scroll through Facebook or whatever, Instagram or whatever. She would rather um, work with the children. She would rather do church activities. But you notice that she rarely budgets time or make time to be with you, the guy. And you start wondering, well, why did she marry me then? Right? So these thoughts gonna start coming in your mind. Why did she marry me? And you're gonna start thinking that maybe there was an ulterior motive. Maybe she didn't get married to me for me. She wasn't saying to herself, I want to be with him for the rest of my life and forge a beautiful life together or whatever. She wasn't thinking that. You're starting to think that she was thinking, I need a moral environment to bring children into the world. All right. Or I want to have a guy around to lift heavy stuff, to do home maintenance and lawn care, and to provide protection and to be able to fix things. I don't know how to do that stuff. Maybe you're thinking that's why she married you. And that's a bad place to be. So you want to try to find out what marriage means to her. Why would she want to marry you? Now, that's going to be difficult because you're going to have to bring up the topic of marriage as far as the two of you being married. But you can you can generalize it, which also hints that perhaps you're thinking. And then you can get to know if she's thinking as well. What is marriage to you? Why would you, do you want to get married? Why? What do things like that. You got to talk about stuff, guys. You just can't go out to dinner and the movies and then say, one day I propose. You got to get to know that person. Okay? You got to get to know that person. All right. Another thing you must do, you have to do. And you have ulterior motives. You want to try to find out what marriage means to her, but also listen to her family and friends when they say certain things. Like, you're going to be in environments where she's going to be around people that she's known for a while. Maybe you visit her church or her family outings or something like that, and you hear people say certain things. Man, she's never on time. Oh, she couldn't find her whatever in a million years. She's so unorganized. Pay attention to stuff like that. Pay attention to little comments that people make, especially her family and the people that know her family and friends. And also pay attention to the things that your family and friends say to you about her, or to you about him for the ladies. Because they may see things that you're not paying attention to because you're so much in love. All right? Pay attention. That's all data. Because one day, there's going to be a moment, there may be a moment where you say, I think I want to marry her. Okay. Let's continue. Another thing you want to pay attention to is their parents. Observe her parents or his parents, because typically we learn about marriage from our parents, which is why unfortunately, there's so many, um, single parent families that the children don't get to really see a marriage per se. But anyway, um, watch the parents, observe the parents. How does the parents, interact with each other as husband and wife, as much as you can, determine, and you can get a little idea, a scope of what your mate, girlfriend, boyfriend, is thinking about marriage. His father is such a romantic, or she is always playful or whatever. And they might see that every day from their parents. So they might have that idea of interacting with their spouse in the future similarly. Okay. So to pay attention to the parents, just observe the parents. Okay. Not like a detective, but just take note of stuff. Pay attention to consistent remarks from their family and friends, or not so much a family friend, but consider consistent remarks from your mate. That's what I mean, right? We already talked about, you know, listening to what family and friends say, but now you're going to listen to what he or she says. Is she always making negative statements? It's always why it won't work instead of working with you to help you make it work. Is it always doom and gloom? You know, um, pay attention to what they say. Pay attention to how they deal with stress or how they deal with challenges and things like that, because that's going to go right on into marriage. You're going to have to deal with that same attitude. What is their attitude like? Get to know that. That's important. What are their expectations in marriage? That's important, because we go into marriage with certain expectations. We expect our spouse to be a certain way. I expect to interact with my spouse a certain way. So you want to know what their expectations are, and you want to relay your expectations. In other words, what does marriage mean to both of you? And you want to talk about it, right? Get that stuff out in the open, because you may not become aware of it because you're not married. you know, you'll get the results, the manifestation or the expression of those expectations after marriage, because you're married. And I expect him to do this, I expect her to do that. But before you get married, before you even propose, try to determine what those things are. What do you expect? What do you expect of me? What do you expect? What does a wife look like to you? What do you expect to do in a marriage? Things like that. Really, and pay attention to the answers, and ask again a little while later to see if it's the same. Okay. Now, sometimes, what I've just told you is good for somebody um, who wants to get married. Uh, they're dating, and or maybe not, and they're wondering if this person is the one. And I've given you some hints or some tips that you can use to try to determine that, or at least to get data, information, so that you can make an informed decision. But after you're married, you may start realizing that there were signs that you ignored, didn't notice. You starting to put things together, and you're realizing that she is the person that was way back then. Those signs were like omens. Now I'm seeing the full expression of those things. What do I do? Well, in any situation, um, you want to, in a marriage, the first thing you want to do is don't go and blame your spouse. All right. My marriage is not, I'm not happy in my marriage because you know, she's just not a good, she's just got problems. It's all her fault. No, you don't want to do that. You want to evaluate yourself first. What could you have done to contribute to the problem? Maybe you're the problem. Maybe she's responding and reacting to your behavior. Or how can you be a better person? Evaluate yourself. Don't just start blaming and pointing fingers at your spouse. Communicate respectfully the issues that you're having. Talk about stuff. Marriage is more about is much more than lovey-dovey, you know. It's a relationship, and it requires work and commitment to make it work. Work to improve your marriage. And that's where you can fall because, we tend to think that you get married and you'll live happily ever after. No, because you're in love. No, 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 no. Love will fade. I have a ebook called What Happens to Love and Marriage. Get that. Go to the website, get that. All right, love fades. And if you don't have commitment, you're in trouble. All right. And above all, ensure your own happiness. Relieve your spouse from making you happy because nobody can make you happy but you. They may contribute. We would love to be able to think about the wedding day. And I'm thinking, I'm so glad I did that. That was one of the best decisions of my life. Instead of, oh my God, what if I hadn't done that? Where would I be? All right. Okay. All right. So I just provided some information for you. I hope it helps. If you're contemplating marriage, I hope this helps. This is from, my 35 years of marriage and 35 plus years of studying marriage and observing marriages and asking couples about their marriage, especially the older couples. You learn a lot from just talking to people. And you'll learn a lot by just talking to your spouse or your girlfriend or the person you're considering to marry. All right? Well, get to know your spouse is the end thing, the conclusion. Get to know them before you propose or before you accept. Before you decide that you want to marry that person, make sure that you've done all you can, that you did your due diligence to know in your heart that that's the person. And it's not just because you're in love. All right. It's not just because you're in love. It's because she is the one, because of boom, 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 boom. And boom. All right. She says this, blah, blah, blah. I think she's the one. Now, granted, you are never completely sure because we human beings tend to put on facades. We tend to put on a show in different situations. All right. But the more you get to know the heart of the matter, the person deep inside, the better off you'll be in making that decision. And the better off you'll be in adjusting after the marriage or after the wedding day to make things right. You get two people together, you're not going to agree all the time. You're going to have stuff that annoys each other. You're going to have stuff that you don't like about that person. But you work through those things. There's nobody on the planet that you like every 100%. You like everything about them or everything they do or everything they say. All right, everything they're about. 100% I like. All right, you're in dreamland. I don't even know if that happens there either. Okay. Well, anyway, this is William Cunningham of My Hope in Marriage. I hope this has been helpful to you. I pray that you would use it and work to have a happy marriage or to decide whether you want to pursue a happy marriage with that special someone. Okay? Be blessed. Bye now.